Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the NOAA Climate Program Office informational webinar on the fiscal year 2025 Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO. My name is Clara Deck. I'm the Communications Specialist for the Climate Program Office's Earth System Science and Modeling Division, or ESSM. The ESSM division is made up of 5 competitive research programs which are sponsoring competitions this year. These programs are the Atmospheric Chemistry, Carbon Cycle, and Climate Program, or AC4, the Climate Observations and Monitoring Program, or COM, the Climate Variability and Predictability Program, or CVP, Earth Radiation Budget Program, or ERB, and the Modeling, Analysis, Predictions, and Projections Program, or MAP. So just a couple tips as we get started here on the go-to. You have some options for toggling the slides and the camera view. If you go to the top of your toolbar, if you click Active Camera, you can select Active Camera and you can select the camera position. So if you toggle between those 3 camera positions, it might make it easier for you to see the slides or the person who's talking. You can also toggle to the who's talking option, and that might help you identify what's going on in the webinar as well. So please let us know in the question box if you have any questions. And we will continue getting started. So today's webinar will first give a very brief introduction of each program and competition, but the primary purpose of this event is to explain and discuss the application and submission guidelines. When we get to the Q&A section, we will take questions via the question box, which you're welcome to add your questions to, or you may virtually raise your hand and unmute your microphone. So ESSM has 7 competitions this year, which we will address today. They are listed in this table. If you are interested in AC4, ERB, or the joint COM, ERB, and AC4 competitions, there will be an additional 30-minute Q&A session following this webinar to address those competitions specifically. So if you are interested and available to attend that additional session, we will provide a link at the end of this event. If you are interested in CVP's competition on implementation of the Tropical Pacific Observing System, a recording with further information will be available on CPO's Funding Opportunities page, and I'll drop that link into the chat so you can check that soon. If you're interested in MAPS competitions, either Climate Change Projections to 2050 or the Early Career Award, a recording with further information will be available soon on the MAP website. So our ESSM team is made up of our division chief, Jin Huang, and this lovely group of program managers and specialists who are all experts on their programs and these competitions today. So you'll be hearing from this group of people later on in this webinar. We have Jenny Sells and Jose Algarin of the CVP program, Dan Barry, David Benson, and Amanda Chiachai from the MAP program. We have Monica Kopach, Shiv Das from the AC4 program. We have Victoria Breeze and Greg Frost leading the ERB program, and Samantha Wills leading the COM program. We are also lucky to be joined today by a couple of our colleagues in the Administrative Services Division. They are experts on the grants application and submission process, and they'll be helping us out during the Q&A portion. So we thank them for their time today. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to the AC4 team to give a brief overview of their competition and their program. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Clara. Hello, everyone. just say a few words about what we're doing in AC4 this year. So as some of you very well know already, AC4 focuses on all kinds of atmospheric composition topics, everything from understanding trace gases and aerosols, short-lived to long-lived. And we address that and support that through lab, field, and remote data and limited modeling studies. As Clara mentioned, there's two of us in the team, AC4 team, and again, we support all kinds of field measurements, individual measurements, and satellite data and modeling, all focused on atmospheric composition. So the next slide, we have a few words about our call this year. So Clara, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So, Scar mentioned already, our competition this year is focused on urban atmosphere. Again, it's quite similar in a way to some other urban calls we've had. It's actually pretty broad. I know we have a lot of language on climate and air quality mitigation strategies. So the two priorities of connecting that to city level actions and policies sounds quite applied, but you can be confident that we still plan to support a lot of underlying science that goes into making those connections, decision support, and things like that. So more specifically, we're looking at data analysis, data collection, again, limited regional modeling, and all kinds of other data applications that could be that would be needed for this kind of focus. So there's some language about stakeholder involvement. We definitely welcome that, and it's not a requirement. But if there's any connections that can be made to the stakeholders and local decision makers, that would be great. And just to note that this is our typical 3-year projects kind of funding opportunity with the budget cap of 750K. So that's all I have. Thank you. Back to you, Clara.
Great. To Samantha.
All right. Thank you, Clara. I'm just waiting for the slide to move forward. Perfect. So I'm Samantha Wills, Program Manager for the Climate Observations and Monitoring Program. Our program mainly focuses on the use, leveraging existing observational data and in situ measurements available across NOAA and other federally funded federally funded type of data collected. There's a strong focus on observational data set development and analysis for the COM portfolio itself, which usually has around 2 to 3 year long projects. We have a list here showing the general portfolio with some of the more recent ones, including precipitation related data sets and national marine sanctuaries. But if you go to the next slide, we'll look at the FY25 competition. And so this is a joint competition between the COM, ERB, and AC4 programs, and it's for leveraging uncrewed systems data for climate applications. We're really looking to optimize the use of NOAA's and other federal or publicly available existing uncrewed systems or UXS related observation-based data. And this is inclusive of all terrestrial, marine, aerial type of UXS data that's been collected across the different groups. And one of the overarching goals, which will be having a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for, working group, will be to develop climate quality UXS data sets and improving data management and accessibility of UXS data across NOAA. We'll have some partners with the NCEI helping us with trying to make this data more accessible. And so for these proposals, you should budget for up to 200,000 per year for 2 to 3 years, so up to 600,000 total. And just want to emphasize that the collection of new observations or instrumentation development is not eligible under this funding announcement. All right, and I'll pass it off to the next person.
Thank you, Samantha. I'm Jose Algarin, Program Specialist for the Climate Variability and Predictability Program at ESSM. The program manager for this program is Jeannie Sells. She'll be here in a minute speaking about our FY25 competitions. So our program supports research that enhances our process level understanding of the climate system through observation, modeling, analysis, and field studies. You can see there some of our recent research portfolio, including Earth interaction and convection, field campaigns, bridging observations and modeling, decadal variability and predictability, and changing ocean fisheries and explaining extremes events. And also we have some strategic partnerships with different NOAA line offices, academia, private sector, federal agencies, and community driven. I'll pass it along to Jeannie so she can talk about the FY25 competitions.
Thanks, Jose. The FY25 competitions will focus on those field campaigns. So we have two competitions, one focused on the Tropical Pacific Observing System Equatorial Pacific Experiment, TPEX Central, and this is looking at the zonal migration of the Western Pacific Worm Pool. And then the second competition will focus on TPEX East, and this is looking at cold tongue variability. More information about the planning that went on behind thinking about these field campaigns is found in the TPEX science plan. So you can access the science plan either through the CPP website or through the QRC. We strongly encourage applicants to read the TPEX science plan in its entirety. And we also emphasize that applicants may only submit one proposal as the lead PI to either one of these competitions. So you can still be a PI on proposals submitted to both competitions, but we really ask that we receive one proposal as the lead PI to either TPEX E or TPEX C. These are 3 awards. The range should be between 525K and 750K. If you want to go over that, you can email Jose and I to discuss your ideas. With that, I will pass it on to the next person.
All right, hello everyone. I'm Victoria Breeze, a program manager for the Earth's Radiation Budget Program, or ERB. So ERB was established in 2020 in response to congressional direction to NOAA. We conduct fundamental research in the stratosphere and troposphere to investigate natural events as well as human activities, including potential solar radiation modification that might alter the reflectivity and radiative balance of the atmosphere, as well as study the potential impact from these events and activities on the Earth system. ERB coordinates research activities across 6 of NOAA's labs, which is managed by my colleague, Dr. Greg Frost, and oversees external grant awards with academic and industry partners here in the Climate Program Office. Our FY25 competition, which I'll wait till we switch to the slides here. So for our FY25 call, we are soliciting proposals focused on bringing together modelers and observationalists. We're motivated by the opportunity to take advantage of the growing abundance of atmospheric field campaign, monitoring, and satellite data to look at projects that incorporate observational constraints to improve the understanding and representation of chemical and physical processes and models, with the end goal then of developing better models with which to interrogate questions around solar radiation modification, or SRM. With regards to SRM approaches, we're primarily interested in stratospheric aerosol injection or marine cloud brightening, though we won't turn away compelling cloud thinning proposals either. Proposals can focus directly on the processes leading to improved SRM simulations themselves, or get at processes via analogs relevant to SRM. Proposals should budget around $300,000 per year, and we aim to fund up to 4 2 to 3 year proposals. All right, I'll hand it over to my MAP colleagues.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Dan Barry. I manage the Modeling, Analysis, Predictions, and Projections program, and I'm going to also ask my colleagues Amanda Ciacci and David Benson to introduce themselves and say hi as well. David, would you like to do a brief intro?
Hi everyone. David Benson. I work with Dan as a program analyst for the MAP program. My background is in land atmosphere interactions and climate predictability. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda Ciacci. I'm a program analyst with the MAP program, and my background's in marine ecology and marine heat waves.
Thanks, David and Amanda. So the MAP program is focused on advancing the development and application of NOAA's climate modeling systems to various mission space problems at NOAA and societal challenges in the public sphere. We have a few different research areas in the program that we support on a cyclical basis. and those are articulated here. Process-oriented diagnostics is a big activity we do with the Geophysical Fluid Dynamics Laboratory, NCAR, and of course the external community. We've increasingly been focused on climate projections, multiple decades in the future, including developing a climate projection service at NOAA with some of our service delivery partners in the agency. A large focus on marine ecosystem research, predictions, projections, developing modeling systems to use for the fisheries and sanctuaries activities at NOAA. A lot of work on drought with the National Integrated Drought Information System program, which is also at CPO, and then focuses on climate extremes, climate process teams to develop and improve climate models, and climate monitoring as well, using modeling techniques to advance the area of climate monitoring. We focus on a wide array of types of projects, including some kind of early application exploration projects, but then also projects that transition research into operations and continued use at NOAA. We try to ground a lot of our work in process level understanding, so not just doing statistical analysis of model data or models, but really grounding that in an understanding of the climate system using observations and building on the work that our colleague programs in ESSM are doing to better understand the climate system and its function, and to bring that into use in the NOAA mission space. And we, of course, like all of the other programs, are focused on extending NOAA's research capabilities by working with the external communities in the private sector and the academic sector. Next slide, please. So we have two competitions in FY25 on this next slide. The first one is focused on projections. I'm managing that solicitation. And this is a pretty close rerun of a competition from a couple years ago, except it's a little bit more applied in its focus. And what we're trying to do here is really bring together the climate science communities with the practitioner communities focused on industrial problems to work together to apply climate modeling data, climate science to outcomes in industry. We received a lot of letters of intent that were trying to tackle these problems in FY23, but many of them were lacking in a grounding in the climate science, the modeling data deficiencies, and understanding of the climate science aspect of this problem. And we really are hoping for projects that are going to be able to combine both things. So you'll see in the solicitation, we have a Slack channel that's open now to try to create collaboration and communication between the industrial communities, the users, and the modeling communities that we're trying to get to work together. And then a second solicitation that's focused on creating opportunities for early career scientists who are graduating into faculty roles or early career roles outside of postdocs, for example. And this is intended as a bridge for modelers, people who might be in the MAP community, to bridge from, for example, the climate and global change postdoc program into setting up a laboratory at a university or elsewhere that's focused on NOAA research problems. And David Benson's managing that solicitation. So that's it from MAP. I'll pass it back to Victoria now.
All right, thanks, Dan. So all of the above was a very brief introduction to our various programs and competitions. But as Clara said, the bulk of this meeting is going to be focused more on the application process and requirements. So I'm going to take a few minutes now to go over the application requirements and timeline. And then my colleague Samantha will have more to say about the proposal submission process following my presentation. So first things first, please note that different competitions have different deadlines for their letters of intent and proposals. LOIs are due September 18th for the AC4, ERB, COM, and the MAP Early Career Award competitions. Full proposals for these competitions are due December 9th. For CVP's competitions, LOIs are due October 1st, and proposals are due January 17th. And for MAP's Climate Change Projections competition, LOIs are due October 18th, and proposals are due January 10th. We will not consider applications submitted after these deadlines. Again, all these deadlines are posted on the CPO website, as well as in the NOFOs themselves. Applications must be submitted via grants.gov, and because of NOAA's transition to a new grant system this year, There are going to be some new processes involved there. Samantha's going to touch on these new things in just a minute. If you're a federal investigator applying to any of these competitions, please prepare your proposal based on the NOFO guidelines, but submit your proposal directly to the applicable program manager via email. All right, next slide, please, Clara. Letters of intent, or LOIs. Letters of intent should be brief, no more than 2 pages, and should provide a concise description of the proposed work and a statement regarding its relevance to the targeted competition. LOIs should include which competition you're applying to, a tentative project title, the names and institutions for the lead PI and other PIs, statement of the problem you're proposing, a brief summary of the work to be completed, approximate cost of the project time period, and relevance to the competition that is being targeted. Program managers will respond to letters of intent within 4 weeks of the deadline. The response will be to encourage or discourage a full proposal. Next slide, please. So please follow Notice of Funding Opportunity guidelines for preparing your full proposals, as the NOFO goes into more detail for what's required. However, we're going to give you some quick tips here today. Proposals are limited to 35 pages total, or 40 pages for projects with 3 or more PIs. Each competition is asking for proposals that are for 2 to 3 years long. Check your competition information for specifics. If you are writing a proposal with multiple PIs where each institution is submitting its own proposal, please ensure that each proposal uses the same title, but include a numerical signifier so that each application can be included together under the correct project. For example, Institution A submits Exploring the Atmosphere 1 of 2, and then Institution B submits Exploring the Atmosphere 2 of 2. Further, all sections of these team proposals should be identical, except for budget and the associated federal forms, which should be unique to each institution. Next slide, please. Again, please refer to the NOFO for full guidelines, but here's a quick look at the content required in a full proposal. A title page, which should include top-line annual budget information for each institution. A project abstract. A project narrative, which, including associated figures and references, should be no more than 20 pages or 25 pages if the project team is 3 PIs or more. Results from prior research, CVs or resumes of key project personnel, current and pending federal support, data and information sharing plan, statement of diversity and inclusion, and then budget table and budget narrative. Indirect cost agreements and federal forms are also required, but they're not included in the page count. Again, the Notice of Funding Opportunities posted on the Climate Program Office websites go into each of these required sections in more detail. Next slide, please. So once we receive the full proposals, we move into the review process. We do our reviews in 2 stages. The first stage is a scientific review focused on technical and scientific merit, applicant qualifications, and project costs. And the second stage is a relevance review focused on the intrinsic value in the proposed work and relevance to NOAA, federal, regional, state, and/or local activities. In stage 1, independent peer male reviewers and/or independent peer panel reviewers, consisting of both federal and non-federal experts, will evaluate the applications using the 3 criteria described above. In stage 2, scores will be determined by a second panel composed of either federal or a combo of federal and non-federal partners. Note that we can only make our final funding recommendations after we receive our FY25 budget from Congress. All right, that was some proposal quick tips. We're going to go into the new application submission process with Samantha now.
Thanks, Victoria. So I'll be going kind of through a general overview of the new grants management system and some of the application submission things that you should be aware of. And just know that we plan to make these available, the slides available as a PDF, and we'll have a corresponding FAQ document with links to resources that are listed here. But as Victoria mentioned, we've moved to this new grants management system at NOAA called ERA Commons. And so the new thing for all PIs and their institutions is that they need to apply. And can you hear me okay? I'm sorry, something just changed on my side. Okay. Anyway, so this is what the landing page would look like for the ERA Commons, and this link right here is what will take you to this website. And again, we'll make this link available in the additional documentation that we send around. Next slide. And so at least for FY25, there's going to be a two-step process for your submission. And so the first one is that you need to be able to get your ERA Commons account set up. So you need to have your organization registered, as well as the PI having an account. And then once you have that account, you'll go back to grants.gov, where you will actually find the NOFO you want to apply for, complete your application, and include the federal forms, which will link to your ERA account information, which I'll go over in a few more slides. And so once the application has been submitted by grants.gov, there's a brief check, just baseline check of the application requirements, and then it's sent to ERA Commons, where it goes through a secondary check that we'll also go into more detail on. But it's ERA Commons where you'll be able to track the status of your application, as well as address any errors or issues that come up that need to be corrected. So next slide, please. And so for a successful submission process through grants.gov, some of the key parts here is that the PI listed on the application materials must have that ERA Commons account. The applicant organization must be affiliated with that ERA Commons account. And the PI's account, they must hold the role of PI. And that is something that your signing official with your institution should be able to help you set up with the ways in which ERA Commons is organized. And then importantly, that Commons ID, that ERA Commons ID that will be associated with your account must be included in the following federal forms in the specific locations. And obviously you're not memorizing this now, and this will be available, and we'll have links to more even detailed online seminars and presentations that can give you more information. Next slide. So here is just a general diagram of what from submission to successfully submitted that application itself. And so initially, as we said, you apply through grants.gov, and then if you just click one more time, Clara. And so this is where the first sort of check occurs at the grants.gov level. So it's only looking for on-time submission, and that your attachments that are required are included in the application package. So this is generally a pretty easy step to get past. So then once this is approved, your application will then be taken and retrieved in the ERA system. And that's where it goes through a secondary check. If you could click one more for me, Clara. And this is where the second check occurs. And this is the more common point where errors have been coming up. And we've been able to sort of compile a list of common issues that we'll go through in the next few slides. But this is certainly where a lot of issues come. And so you can just have it get to the ERA system, and then it says, oh, we need you to fix a few things. It will be resent back to you in grants.gov for resubmission. So we definitely recommend giving yourself some time when you do submit for the deadlines, in case you have to go back and make any changes. Next slide. So like I mentioned, for that second fail point, once ERA is doing the more detailed check, so the three common issues we've seen are that ERA Commons ID, so failing to register in the first place or including the valid PI account on the federal forms that are required. Listing your congressional district. This is something that has a very specific format and is required on these federal forms, and I'll give a few more details in the following slides. And then the final here is formatting issues that occur. I'll provide a couple of the most common formatting issues, but then we'll also provide some links where you can see a detailed list. Next slide. And so for the Commons IDs, so as we've said over and over, again, failing to register an ERA Commons or including that ID is going to prevent the successful submission of your electronic application. You do not need to add additional personnel who are within it to have their ERA accounts, but you are going to receive a warning more likely, but just rest assured that this warning message does not prevent the successful submission. So, you know, it's good to have the ability to get into ERA and look, but it's just more important that the lead PI, of course, has their account set up. And then for organizations themselves, if you don't think your organization potentially has registered with ERA, please have them look into that as soon as possible, as this can take a few weeks for approval. And so it's, you know, very important that the organizations as well are in the ERA system. Next slide. And so here we're talking about that congressional district, as we mentioned before. So this is required on the SF424 forms. Basically, it consists of your state's 2-letter abbreviation and ends with a 3-digit district number with a hyphen separating them. And so the example here, the correct example for the state of Virginia 1st Congressional District would be VA-001. If it's typed any other way without the hyphen, missing one of the 3-digit numbers, this will result in an error and you will be rejected and have to go and resubmit. And there is a link here, and we will supply this link, of course, in the FAQ document to where you can find how to enter your congressional district correctly. Next slide. And then finally, the formatting issues that may occur. There is a very detailed list available on the online resources, but some of the most common issues here include files that are too large, so of over 100 megabytes, having paper or page sizes larger than the standard letter paper size. File names that are too long has been an issue, so you know, anything over 50 characters, and that does include spaces. Having any invalid characters in the file name, such as, you know, some of the non-numerical type of things that we can type, and then not flattening the PDF prior to attachment. And as I mentioned, these are just the most common ones, but there is a full list of formatting requirements that you should be able to reference. And then I think the next is our final slide. Oh, nope, not yet. Again, so this was here, I had put in a list of just general applicant and grantee training websites. So most of this is found for the Office of the Chief Information Officer at commerce.gov. Here, I'll make sure that these links are provided to you in a separate document that you can find, but they kind of help you introduce yourself to ERA, registering your accounts, registering your organization, as well as how to deal with the submission and tracking of the NOFO. And so now we can go to the final slide. All right, and so we've reached the end of this webinar, and so as Clara was saying, we will have a Q&A session starting now, but I just wanted to remind those who are interested in the AC4 Joint Com ERB AC4 or ERB competitions that we will have an additional 30-minute Q&A following this webinar's Q&A, and this will be at the Google Meet link, and I'm sure Clara will put that again in the chat box at the end here. So with that, I suppose we are moving into our Q&A session.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for the information and your presentation. So now we'll move on to a discussion portion. I am allowing now attendees to use mics and camera. So if you have a question that you'd like to discuss, you are able, hopefully, to use the raise hand function. And we can call on you and unmute your microphone, or you can put your question in the question box. So while people are thinking of questions, we do have one that came in. The question, sorry, before I read the questions, I just want to let everybody know that these slides will be available afterwards on the CPO Funding Opportunities page. We will make available a PDF of these slides and a recording of the presentation portion. So we will also include an FAQ document that has to do with the ERA and the application submission process. So right now,